I just got these delivered, and these are my new springs for my Honda Accord. Yeah, look, Eibach. I also just wanted to show you that yes, I do have spring clamps, and yes, I could do this myself, but I don't want to. It's too wet, too cold, and I don't have time. I have to go back on the computer now and do more stuff, so I don't have time. So you're probably asking yourself, why do I want to get lowering springs on a comfortable kind of, you know, cruiser kind of car? Well, there's two reasons why. Firstly, because that back shock, the spring is actually broken in half. I don't know how. Maybe I hit a pothole or something like that. Secondly is because I've always wanted to lower this car. I said it in a video at the very start when I bought these wheels, that when I put the wheels on, there was this height that just needed to be shrunk down a little bit. The Accord has this height alright, and maybe I'll need to get lowering springs. Will lowering springs actually make a difference to the ride quality of the car? Yes, they will. So lowering springs make the most sense for me, because I want to keep my original struts, which is the suspension itself, to absorb any of the bumps that you go over. So I want to keep that suspension strut, so they're slightly stiffer than original. Therefore my ride comfort might just be hindered a little bit. So it's basically like having a load of heavy people in the back. Hey, don't call me fat, you fuck. Shouldn't be too bad though, because I'm still using the same struts. Does this damage your struts? It can damage your struts, because you're lowering the vehicle and the strut is doing more work than it used to do. Because this is an older car, I will probably have to change the struts in the future either way. This will probably just shorten that lifespan of the strut. So I got a 30mm lowering spring, which is only about like an inch, 1.18 inches, 1.2 inches or something like that. I didn't want to go really low because I have to drive this everywhere, and as I said, I live on back roads. It's not going to be very comfortable for me to drive around on these roads if the car is really low. So I just went for a small little drop on them. This is not really the right time for me to be doing lowering springs, but I had to do it because of the NCT. They told me that the spring was cracked. I needed to get new springs. I said I could get standard springs and it would cost me X amount, or I can get lowering springs that would be a little bit more expensive and I will get lower. It also is very close to Christmas now, and I have kids, and you know, Christmas kids. I also did have a little bit of money saved up to get the lip kit, the Mugen lip kit, fitted properly and painted. But now that this is after coming up, I took the Mugen kit back off because I won't be getting it done anytime soon. I will eventually get it done, I don't know when. So at the end of the day, I needed to get some suspension for NCT purposes, National Car Test purposes. In Ireland, we do car test every year, and you have to pass that test to be able to drive your car. I needed to pass that test. I needed to get suspension. I didn't want to get standard suspension. I wanted to get lowering springs all along anyway, so I got lowering springs. If you remember, I said in one of the videos that I wanted to either raise the height of the tires or lower the actual suspension. I did raise the height of the front tires because I needed two new front tires. So I got larger tires to see how they would look, to see how they would feel, to see how they would fit, you know. The reason I wanted to try them out is because I wanted to see how much comfort I would get over a larger tire, and how much space they would fill up in that gap that I have over the wheels. But after driving with them for a little while, they're no different than getting the smaller tires. They don't feel any different whatsoever. Plus, the tires I got are absolute rubbish. They're Grip Max something SR, I don't know. I got cheap tires anyway, just to see what the height difference would be, and oh my god, they're so bad. There's no grip out of them at all, and they're called Grip Max. I would much rather go back to the Roadhog ones that I got before, because they are so good compared to these Grip Max. These are the roads I have to live with, so this is why my car is always dirty. Look at this. These are the terrible Grip Max tires that I got. I got a 225 50 18. There's a little bit of a gap here, okay? There's 3-finger gap. There's roughly a 3-finger gap there on these 225 45 18s. You look again here on the 225 50 18s, there's still a 3-finger gap. All these tires done was actually raise the height of the front of the car, which makes sense when I think about it now, but I didn't think about that at the time. So this is the side with the broken suspension, and if you look, this is more like a 2-finger gap now. So that's not far off of where the suspension will be when I'm finished with it. It'll come down just about an inch. So here's the part number anyway, in case you just wanted to get them for yourself. they go over your standard suspension struts, so you basically just take the springs off and replace the springs on your struts. So let's just get all this packed up now and bring it to the mechanic.
A few inches later.
I just got the car back. As you can see, it's pitch dark, it's late at night now, and the comfort is almost the same. It's slightly stiffer and there's not much body roll over. It's like the comfort is almost the same. It's crazy how close to the original it is. It's very close to the original feeling, only for it's just slightly stiffer, so when I turn it doesn't roll over. I want to show you the old springs. So here's my old springs, and this is the old spring from the back. So basically it goes there like that, you see. So it was snapped, so I had to get new springs anyway, so I bought Lowering Springs, and they do feel great on the car, I have to say. So I'm glad to be rid of them. Obviously you can't really see the car in the dark here, so I'll wash the car up tomorrow and I'll show you it when, you know, in the daytime, so you can get a better judgment of the height of it and so on. So I'll see you tomorrow. So for the last few days I've been dealing with ice and snow and shit, but now this is the finger test. I can barely get one finger in on the front wheels, which is the 50 sidewall tire, and on the rear I can just about get 1.5, maybe 1.5 fingers in there. Yeah, I'll wash the car up and then I will wait till this weather gets better and I'll take some more video. Okay, so I know the car still needs a lot of work. Yes, I still have to get me front bumper fitted correctly, and you know, I still do have to get new tires for this. I don't know what size to go with the 50 sidewall tire or the 45 sidewall tire. Maybe I'll even have to get new wheels, I don't know. Now the gap with the 50 sidewall tire I think looks just right. I might actually go with the 50 sidewall tire rather than having the 45 sidewall tire on it, because I just think the 50 just looks a lot better. So I might be going with a 50 sidewall tire, I think, with this. And when the body kit and all is fitted, I think with the body kit and all fitted, so when I have the front kit on it, the lip kit, it will drop that size. The same with the side skirts. I just think it will look just much lower with the 50 sidewall tire rather than the 45. Now I know the 45s look better, but there's just still too much of a gap there. I think my next set of wheels, if I am getting any new wheels for this, will be 19s with a 45 tire, so that it will shrink that little gap there. But the 50s just fit perfectly, I think. But I have to say, it's exactly what I wanted. I didn't want way too much of a drop. I wanted it just enough of a drop so that it would look lower, but just not too low, if you understand me. Because as I said, I live around roads like these, and it's not that comfortable to drive around on roads like these. But I have to tell you that driving with these Eibach springs feels absolutely incredible. The car feels slightly lower, slightly stiffer, and much more confident. Like just turning or accelerating or braking just feels so much more confident. What I mean is, under acceleration and braking, the car would sort of lift and bounce forward. It felt sort of like it was on jelly or wobbled a little bit more. The car feels so planted. It feels so good with these. Now, as I said to you, it didn't take away any comfort whatsoever. It actually feels like it added more comfort, because it doesn't feel like a big couch that you're wallowing around in. It feels stuck to the road, and it feels like it still does go to the side slightly, but just not as much. It really does feel like it like the spring rebound is so much faster than it was before. So you'd turn a corner and the whole car would lean over, and then it would eventually come back up. With this, it sort of doesn't lean as much, and then when it does lean, it sort of just bounces back straight back up, but it doesn't bounce. It just sort of like lifts you back up and you're dead straight again. But believe me when I tell you that these springs feel fantastic. They don't feel stiff, they don't feel bouncy, they just feel comfortable. They just feel firm and comfortable, that's all. If you're thinking about getting lowering springs, I highly suggest that you get these Eibach springs that I got for your Accord anyway. I don't know how they feel in any other car, but going from what I've read about them and so on, Eibach springs are the ones to be going for. They seem to be the best on the market for this, for comfort and ride quality. Listen, I know the car doesn't look the best at the moment, okay? And I do have to fit the front bumper correctly, and I do have to at least wax the car. I haven't waxed it in ages. But I do have to do a lot to the car. I do have to sort out my tyres and get the right size tyres for all wheels. I do have to get the body kit fitted and painted correctly. I still do have to get the side quarter panel there fixed, because I never got it fixed after the thing fell to the ground. And I still do have other little issues that I have to sort out on the car as well. But it's a 13-year-old car, and I drive this every day, all day, over every type of terrain basically, and I do motorway mileage and I do town mileage as well. So this car does get used. This is when you say daily driver, this is not just a daily driver. This car gets used. It gets used and abused. So for the condition that it's in, I'm not too bothered about that condition because I understand what I do with it. It's constantly on the road, it's constantly moving, it's constantly banging over things, it's constantly getting splashed by trucks, it's constantly kids banging off it and throwing their stuff all over the place. It's a well-used car, and I think the car itself reflects that, because the mileage is high, yes, and the body is in bad shape, but I'm trying to keep it as long as I can because it's so easy and economical to run and use. Yes, my one does break a lot, but that's just the age of the car as well. I'm driving on a little bumpy back road here now, and this just feels so good. It doesn't feel like that or anything. It just feels so smooth and nice. Well, smooth but bumpy still, but just so good. It feels so good, really so good. Look, barely any body roll. There's barely any body roll. They're like under acceleration and braking, it just stays still. Like, this is me braking now here, watch. There was no there was none of this. It was just braking, that's it. Just broke. And watch, right, I'll show you. I'm in first here now, there's nothing around me, and wait you see when I accelerate. Obviously I'm going to do this because of gravity, but just watch. This just feels so good, and this is a bumpy back road. It's a very small bumpy back road, and it feels great. Believe me, it feels great. I just washed my car this morning. I just went off to film that little bit of a video, and I came home and there it is, it's raining again. Literally just rained this last 4 or 5 days in a row or something. What can you do when you live in a shoe and your name is Hugh and you need a poo?